Welcome, everyone, to our new episode of Refugee Voices. And today we have a wonderful guest from ARTogether, a refugee nonprofit who does a very unique way of helping refugees in the refugee community. And we have Leva, the founder and director. So, Leva, you want to explain about your role and a little bit more about yourself?
Sounds great. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is exciting, and thank you for the work that you are doing for the community. My name is Leva Zand. I was born and raised in Iran, and I came to the US with my family as refugees back in 2004. So the refugee cause is very close to my heart and it's very personal to me. So we came to the US and, life and everything, school, college, grad, all of that. My personal background and my academic background is in women and gender studies, and my professional background before Art Together was in international development. I was working with international NGOs in the areas of women and women leadership, mostly in the Middle East and North Africa. The story of Art Together is also very personal. When in 2016, Donald Trump got elected for the first time, we had a rise of anti-refugee and anti-immigrants rhetoric here in the Bay Area, less, but more or less, in the country. And back in the days, I was working in another organization who were working on, again, women campaigning and women development, women international development. But the election and the emotions that you invoke in me after that, basically, I realized that I really want to work in my local community. And after 20 years, I felt like, okay, Bay Area is home, and I want to bring the skills and experience that I gain overseas here at home. I knew that I want to work with refugees because the cause was very close to my heart, and I was also have personal experience, lived experience as the whole journey coming here, resettlement. But I wasn't sure what I want to do because resettlement and all the logistical support that refugees are receiving are good, but I was looking for something that is more geared towards community building and human connection, not as much as the logistic. As you know, any family, any people, any person who is moving to a new location, any new city, let alone a new country, they need to figure out school system, medical system, transportation, banking, all of those things, which is huge for refugees when they first arrive. And there are community, there are organization, and I saw that JFCS was your host last time. That there are resettlement agencies who are supporting with those logistic, but there wasn't as much in terms of like community building or connection. And the reason I chose art as medium for this connection and community building and support was it doesn't require a common language. Art itself is the common language. When we came here, my parents weren't speaking English. I knew a little bit, but I was, this is something that I also see in other immigrants community, that there is this desire and longing for connection and building new community here, but usually because of the language barriers, it's getting lost. So I was looking for something that can bring people together and that people around the table can participate in an activity all together without being worried about their fluency in English. So art came to really in mind is something that everybody can be involved, and also no matter which country of the world you are coming from, we all have tradition of dance, storytelling, singing. All of those things has been practiced historically for thousands of years with different communities. So it's not a new idea of like using art for community building and healing. We try to make it a more in a structured way in the Bay Area. So at the beginning, Art Together, early 2017, which I started the idea, it was more like a passion project. I was still my full-time job. I was working with a different nonprofit, was based in Boston. So I started this basically a passion project, connecting with a few of artist friends that I have. They were all wanted to be involved. So I started reaching out to a few refugee service agencies, resettlement ones, and other agencies who are providing services, and offer that this is what we want to do. We want to create art programs. We want to do art activities with different community members. And over there were like overwhelmingly desire to do that. And it was very obvious from the beginning that it is not something that other groups haven't thought about that. But because nonprofits are usually very under-resourced, overworked, there isn't really any place for those organizations to also do that. So it was just a very welcoming environment for us. And I started working with a few student interns while I was still doing my full-time job, and started registering as a nonprofit. And again, it was still very much volunteer-based, intern-based till 2019. As and then we started little by little to add to our like we found more support, we found grants, we found donors, and from there we basically expand our programs to become the organization that it is now, and the whole staff, and we are actually expanding this month to a new space as well. So that's a little bit history of like where I'm coming from, how ARTogether started.
Wonderful. And during those initial days, I'm sure since it is something new for the community and in the Bay Area, there's not probably that many art organizations or just different ways for refugees to come together. And I'm curious to see what kind of early challenges did you face during those early days, especially with reaching out to the community and finding the people who are really interested in your services.
Exactly. That's a wonderful question, because unlike some countries in the U.S., we don't have refugee camps, so I don't know who like anybody can be. What is their status? So for us, from the beginning, was building relationship with organizations who are already providing services. Go to the resettlement agencies; they know who these communities are, or go to schools who are serving large number of newcomers, and there are newcomers program, or going to organizations who are providing mental health or social support. And for a few different reasons, not only just because we didn't have access directly to the community, but because those organizations been working for many years, they already established a trust with the community. And also, like, art classes and art program, like, if you are not a practicing artist, or you are not into art, you are not, if you see that, okay, look, there's a painting class going on, like somebody like my mom, for example, who haven't been practicing art, is not going to sign up for that, right? But if she's going to an agency who's providing different supports, and they encourage them that this is a class that you can enjoy, they would probably sign up. And then when they come, they realize, oh, it is not as much about painting, but more about being in the same space and share stories. One thing that we were keep hearing from the beginning, and still today is the case, is that some people who are a little bit hesitant to come at the beginning, but then come for different reasons. Their wife forced them to come, or they want to come to be with their children, or their friends told them to come. They don't have any background in art. They come and they sit in the classes, and then they realize that, oh, this is more about connection, and they keep coming back, and they bring friends as well. For example, when in 2021, when the fall of Kabul happened and US decided to leave Afghanistan, and then we had a flux of like Afghan refugees come to the US, what ARTogether was trying to do is that like a family like goes to a new place, art classes or art program is not on top of their priorities. And we knew that, and we didn't want to force anything. However, we start to create some family gathering programs. We start some women's support group that brings people together. And from the beginning, we realized that it is not just as simple as, oh, this is the class happening, then come. No, we were trying to go to the location that the community members are. If they are already going to, for example, adult after school classes, we take some art programs there. Or if they are already going for some appointments, we are taking our program there. If it's kids already going to a school, we were taking our program there, versus like asking them to come to our place. So meeting the community member where they were, building relationship with organizations who already have a kind of relationship with the folks, and also show them that genuinely this is not about art. This is not about we train you to be the next Picasso, for example. It is about like enjoying the process together. And I think that is still the source of our success. That it's just like it is not as much about the final product versus the process that we are creating. And all of our programs, we really, the community building aspect of that is the main essence of the programs. Art mediums comes after that.
Mhm. So when you go to these places and introduce yourself to the communities and the people, um, how do you make sure that they understand the focus, or how do they get to know the community rather than like your activities just being focused on art? How did you make sure that your activities were well suited such that they don't have to feel like they're just doing art?
Right. We tried, thank you so much. It's a great question. Um, as much as possible, we try to work with artists from those communities. That's create immediately a sense of connection. Some of our
Mhm.
classes and our programs are monoethnic. We only have, for example, with our Afghan women support group, we only have Afghans, right? So we speak Dari and Pashto in the classes, the connection happens. And some of our programs are multi ethnicity, multi languages. We try to make sure that we have language access, like there is, even if like the teacher itself, herself or himself doesn't speak themselves, they don't speak the language, they don't speak Vietnamese and Chinese and Amharic and Dari. We want to make sure that there are folks in the class who either can help each other translating, or the material itself is clear enough that they can follow. Like if whatever they're doing, they can follow, so they know that they are welcome. um, uh, Communities is smart. We don't need to tell them that this is happening. They see what is happening and they come back to us. The retention rate when people are coming and they want to come back, or they're asking, oh, when is the next class, means that's a success for us. um, I feel like the people that we are working with, they're much more smarter than we think. So they understand the work. They know what they are here. They know how the importance of the work when they participate in the programs.
Mhm. That's wonderful. And I like that you were able to actually put yourself out there that way. And a lot of organizations they struggle initially because they wait for the community to come to them, but really that's difficult, you know. Um,
Yeah.
and I like the approach that you guys took there, definitely.
I think it is very important when we are working with any community. It doesn't mean that only refugees have to work with refugees. Doesn't mean that, but it is
Yeah.
important to have somebody who had lived experience who can guide us. Like for example, for me, I always thinking about not about myself or my own experience, but I also think a lot about like my parents' experience, or my siblings who were younger and what was their experience. I know that if you put like, oh, there's an art class there, my parents wouldn't sign up. Or if there is some like an after a school program for my brother who were teen when we came here, he wouldn't probably just go and sign up because he's not an artist or not artworking. There are different ways to get the attention of the community members for them to understand that this is an art class or this is an art program, but at the same time, this is about like connection and finding friends.
So recently, what kind of initiatives have you guys started that's like new, or like any projects that your organization is undertaking?
Absolutely. I can name two projects. One of them is a shadow movement workshop. This is a workshop that we started last year, and we are going to continue this year. And through this program, 17 youth came together. They are half of them were mostly newcomers. The rest of them were like first generation or second generation immigrants. So they're all from the immigrants background, no matter what. We had all level of speaking English, from none to fluent, basically with the first language being English. We had Afghans, we have Guatemalan, we had El Salvadorian, we have Chinese, we had Vietnamese, we had African American, like just you name it. It was a very, very diverse group of folks.
Wow.
So over the course of 4 months, this youth met every week. And I tell you a little bit about how we are operating our classes. Classes happen at ARTogether Center at 5 to 7 p.m. We are sending transportation for everyone who cannot. Like we have like students coming from Concord or Walnut Creek and they didn't have car. We send Uber for them, take them in and take them back, because we know accessibility is important. It's not just if we just say that, oh, class is happening and not providing that, only kids who their parents could transport them or provide them could participate. or for example, for some of our adult classes, we are also providing childcare because we know that that's the only way that moms can participate. So it's not just about have the program, but thinking about accessibility as well. Go back to the shadow movement. So over the course of 4 months, this youth met every week. They learn how write a story, how to record their stories, how to make shadow puppetry, how to make the puppetry basically show, how to film that, and how to make an animation out of it. So that was just basically over the course of 4 months, this youth learned a few different artist skills, but also really built the communities. And they became our ambassadors. When we have like different events, we invite them to help us, to volunteer with us, to work with us. We actually pay them a stipend as well. So in this way, we really create the first cohort, this cohort of youth. And now they are talking with each other. There wasn't any way, I don't think that a kid from Afghanistan and a kid from Ukraine are necessarily doing a joint project. They are doing that in our program. It's just beautiful. So the program was super successful. We had an exhibition that we just wrapped up, and the final product is actually a movie, a short movie of all of the little films that these kids made. I think that's on our website. I can send you the link. That's one project that was just great, and we are going to continue that. The other project that I'm also equally excited about is the expansion of artist mentorship hub and residency. Since 2020, we have started a program called Artist Growth, and within that program, we are providing a structural support to emerging refugee and immigrants artists. These are the ones who either professional artists practicing art forms back in their homeland. When they came here, it was harder for them to get in, or they're just basically starting their artistic career. So we had this mentorship program that provide like professional development, community building, all of that. This year we are adding a residency, means that we are actually providing actual studio spaces to the artists to create their art. As you know, Bay Area is very expensive. It's very hard to find a studio space and pay for that. So that expansion of the mentorship hub is the residency that we are actually launching the program on December 6th. You should come to our program. It's an open house. It's invitation open, and you should totally come to our event.
For sure. If you share those details, we can definitely share it with our audience as well
I would
and
love
see if anyone's interested in that. Um, and, you know, a lot of this is very new to the community, and I love that. So, where does this inspiration really come from? You talked about how you were born and raised in Iran, and now you're here. So, how was that journey like inspiring you to do this work in the United States?
I grew up in a family that public service was a big, huge thing. It's always like you support those who are less fortunate than you are. And I'm coming from a minority group in Iran who were under persecution for the last 45 years. So community was also very tied and raised in like poverty. But even in the darkest days, public service and contribution was a big pillar of my family, the community that we are growing up. So it wasn't any question for me from the beginning that this is something I believe that we all live in an ecosystem and we are receiving resources, and it is our job to pass it around to others. I feel like I got to the point in my career and that I wanted to give back. And those are like, there were skills that, as I said, like I'm not an artist myself, but I know the art of management. I can bring people together. I can motivate people to do something. So for me, it wasn't a question that what I'm going to do. It would be, and my previous jobs are also like all in public service. So there wasn't any question that is something that integrated, I feel like, in my blood. Um, but in terms of like what I think really the anger and the rage was a very strong emotion back in the days to push me towards to actually, and also because the person I am, I'm just, when something is wrong, I'm also going to the what to do mode, action mode. So for me, that was the action that I chose to do to shift the force of anger and rage that I had to something more productive.
Mhm. That's wonderful. And your experiences have been very valuable to this community, and I'm sure there's a lot of wonderful stories of people really their lives changing because of your work and what you guys do. And I want to cap this episode off by just asking you, what do you think the public can do, the broader community can do, to support your mission and contribute to making a positive impact?
Thank you. There are many ways. There are passive ways, like us on Instagram, follow us and sign up for our Facebook. These are
Mhm.
passive ways, or tell your friends about us, or come to our events. Come to our event is not as passive, but there are that ways that you can share the words, tell everybody that what we are doing. We are always looking for more resources. You can also volunteer with us. If your financial situation allows, please donate. The money goes directly to the program that we are doing. It could also be in kind, it could be supplies as well. But more than anything, be in community with us. We don't know what is happening with the refugee community, with new administration and everything. It's just like be mindful that there are people around us who are more vulnerable, and it is our job, it is our duty to make them feel safe.
Wonderful. And Leva, thank you so much for your time today. And I hope the audience really understands how much you've fueled your energy coming from all the way from Iran to the United States and helping the communities come together, including the youth and also the various minorities and diversity um, that you have brought up in this community.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the time. Thank you for having me on today, and I hope to see you in actual person. Come to our event on December 6th.
Definitely, we'll take a look and I'll share that with our viewers as well. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.